My photo taste is the Pinterest because they are the best.
Iram Shamila has been on hunger strike. She hasn't eaten food willingly for 16 years. Yeah. That must take an incredible amount of emotional and mental
willpower.
Energy. Absolutely, yes. And of course we use this to describe our own first woman British Prime Minister, Margaret Thatcher. You remember Margaret Thatcher?
The Iron Lady.
Yes.
Who could forget?
Yeah. And she was called that because she was very strong and determined. No one could tell her what to do. Most people were a bit scared of her, apparently, because she was so mentally strong and determined.
There's a pun in here as well, isn't there?
There's some wordplay, yes, because her name is Irom. It's spelled I-R-O-M.
So just one letter different from iron.
Exactly that. So it's a newspaper headline writer's gift from heaven. Here we are. We can play on her name and change it to Iron Lady. Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, well, let's hear some more about this story from the BBC's India correspondent Sanjoy Majumdar, who is outside the court in Manipur. Listen out for how he uses the word fast.
She was able to leave the ambulance. She was supported by two policewomen, but was able to walk up the steps. We understand she's told the judge that she stands by the decision she announced a few weeks ago, the decision to finally end her fast of 16 years. Now remember, it's a protest she began in the year 2000 against a law that grants the Indian security forces here in Manipur and other frontline states sweeping powers to arrest suspects, even shoot to kill, and more importantly, immunity from prosecution. That law still exists on the books, but she has decided to end her fast.
The BBC's India correspondent Sanjoy Majumdar there. Okay, it's time for our Facebook challenge, and we've been discussing that iron can be used to describe a person who is mentally and emotionally strong. But how about other metals in English? I've got a list of them here, Catherine.
Yes.
One of them cannot be used to describe a person's personality. But which one is it? Is it A, steel, B, copper, or C, mercury? So what have our followers been saying?
We've got a range of answers from a lot of people on Facebook. Nobody chose steel, so well done everybody who didn't choose steel, because we can use steel in much the same way as iron.
Yes, you could say that somebody has a steely determination.
Absolutely, yes. You're steely, you're strong, you're determined, usually for mental rather than physical. We don't call someone a steel man because they're strong, but steel will, steel determination. And mercurial, if you are mercurial, you are the kind of person who's changing their minds and doing this one day and another thing another day. Very difficult to pin down.
Just like mercury, it changes its form.
Moving, always kind of changing, always kind of quick, and 1 minute here and 1 minute there. A mercurial character.
Yeah.
So that only leaves one, and well done everybody who said copper. Copper is not a word we generally use to describe people's character or personality. So well done to name a few: Sasha Hurst, Mas Sir, and Shashi Singh, who all said copper, and everybody else who got that right.
Okay, great. So can you just give us a recap of the words we've looked at today, please, Catherine?
I can. We had activist, a person with a strong belief in a certain cause who takes action to achieve their aims. We had fast or fast, a period of time in which a person chooses not to eat. And finally, we had iron, which is used here as an adjective to describe a person who is mentally and emotionally strong.
Thanks for joining us. Do join us again. And for any more help with your English, visit our website at BBC Learning English.
News Review, the programme where we give you the words and phrases you need to talk about the news. Hi, I'm Sian, and with me in the studio today is Catherine. Hi, Catherine.
Hello, Sian.
What story do you have for us today?
Today, Sian, I've brought you a very dirty story.
Ooh, a dirty story. Let's hear more about this story.
With just 4 days until the start of the Olympic Games in Brazil, reports indicate that levels of pollution in Rio de Janeiro remain alarmingly high. Guanabara Bay, where sailing events will be held, is heavily polluted by raw sewage and chemicals. Research also suggests the authorities have failed in their promise to clean up Rio's air quality.
So the Rio Olympics are due to start in 4 days, and the waterway where the sailing event will be happening is extremely polluted, and people are very worried about this.
Oh dear. And you've been looking at the story in the news. What words and phrases have you picked out today?
Okay, so yes, this story is being picked up by a lot of the world's media, and 3 words that keep popping up are filthy, teeming with, and unfazed.
Okay, so filthy, that means very, very dirty or unpleasant. Teeming with, meaning containing a large number of. And unfazed, meaning not surprised or worried. So how are these stories appearing in the news?
Okay, so we've got, first of all, we'll look at filthy. And the Yahoo News website tells us that the waterways of Rio de Janeiro are as filthy as ever. And we also have on CBS Sports website, they're talking about pollution in the air as well as the water in Rio, and they say, their headline says, polluted Rio air more dangerous for Olympians than filthy water.
Okay, so they're saying the air and the water are both very, very dirty.
Unfortunately, according to this report, that's what they're saying. So, yeah, filthy means very, very dirty. Dirty in the way that it's actually disgusting.
Right.
It's horrible. It makes you feel ill. It's just extreme dirt that's it's disgusting in some way, yeah.
Oh, so as well as water and air, can we use it to talk about other things? So if I don't clean my kitchen for a few weeks, can I say, oh, my kitchen is filthy?
Sean, I'm sure your kitchen is absolutely spotless, but if you didn't clean it for some reason, you couldn't clean your kitchen for months and months and months, I'm sure it would be filthy, disgusting, smelly, horrible. Yes.
Okay, I'll make sure that I don't let it get in that situation.
I won't be coming round to dinner anytime soon.
I've also heard a filthy mind as well, so that's obviously slightly different.
Yes, it's about, filthy is often for things, but it can also be for ideas or the way people think. So if you have, for somebody who's really kind of unpleasant, does horrible things, makes people feel uncomfortable, tells rude jokes, inappropriate behaviour, you can say that person has a filthy mind. Yeah, he thinks in a horrible way. Yeah.
Okay, and is it always quite negative, or can we use it in a more light-hearted way?
We can, yes. And in the context of this story, filthy water, it's dangerous and horrible. It's definitely negative. But yeah, if your kids are out playing and they come home all dirty, you can say, you're filthy, get a shower. So you can use it, in a light-hearted way, telling your friend off for being a bit rude. You can say, well, you've got a filthy mind.
Yes.
So you choose the degree of negativity for the situation.
Okay. Yeah. And it's extreme, so obviously we need to use absolutely or completely. We can't use very with this adjective.
You don't say very filthy. It's absolutely filthy or completely filthy. Yeah.
Okay.
Extreme adjective.
Great. And how about the next word that you found in the news?
Yep. Next word is teeming with, and it's in the Yahoo headline again, and it says that the waterways of Rio de Janeiro are contaminated with raw human sewage, teeming with dangerous viruses and bacteria, so not very pleasant at all. And the word teeming with is full of, containing a lot of things, usually living things.
Okay, so can we use it for people, animals, as well as bacteria?
Yeah, you're in the shopping centre, it's a Saturday afternoon, it's teeming with people, and if I ever go to your unclean filthy kitchen, it will be teeming with bugs and teeming with rats and cockroaches. Yes. So lots and lots of living things in a place. Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, not great. How about the third word you found?
This third one, unfazed, and we have it on the Guardian website. Australians unfazed by water pollution at Rio Olympics rowing course.
So they're not worried. They're not surprised.
Not bothered. No, if you're unfazed by a problem, it means you've got a plan, there's a problem, but you don't care about the problem, you're doing it anyway. It doesn't bother you. Go ahead, keep going. There's no problem. So if you're in your filthy kitchen, cooking your dinner anyway,
unfazed by the
dirty kitchen, it means you don't care about a problem. Keep going. Business as usual.
Okay, so I'm going to the beach this weekend. The weather forecast says it's going to rain.
Oh.
But I'm unfazed by this. I'm going to go anyway.
Have fun in the rain.
I will do. Okay, great. Let's hear a little bit more about this story from Brazil correspondent Wyra Davies.
Cleaning up Rio's chronically polluted waters was a promise that the city made when it was chosen to host the Olympic Games, but it simply hasn't been kept. We're out now on Guanabara Bay, where Olympic sailing events will take place. The smell from the oil on the surface is overpowering. And these are waters full of physical waste, furniture, even dead animals have been found in the water here. But most of all, it's the sewage from the favelas and even the middle-class parts of town that floods down into the bay, making this one of the world's most polluted waterways.
Okay, so that was Wyra Davies telling us about the filthy water he is experiencing. As we said, the Australian rowers are unfazed by this, and
My photo taste is the Pinterest because they are the best. Flick to link and link to flick.
You're not even my father. That was exactly what the parents in our study feared. Now the boy soon felt sorry and they made up. But it is the reaction of his father that is most interesting. He said, "This outburst had nothing to do with the lack of a genetic link. It was about puberty, being difficult. It's what they do at that age. It will pass." What this man shows us is that when something goes wrong, we should not immediately think it is because the family is a little different. These things happen in all families. And every now and then, all parents may wonder, am I a good enough parent? These parents too, they above all wanted to do what's best for their child. But they also sometimes wondered, am I a real parent? And their uncertainties were present long before they even were parents, at the start of treatment, when they first saw the counselor. And they paid close attention to the counselor, because they wanted to do it right. Even 10 years later, they still remembered the advice they were given. So when they thought about the counselor and the advice they were given, we discussed that, and we saw one lesbian couple who said, when our son asks us, do I have a dad? We will say, no, you do not have a dad. But we will say nothing more, not unless he asks, because he might not be ready for that. The counselor said so. Well, I don't know, that's quite different from how we respond to children's questions. Like, milk, is that made in a factory? We will say, no, it comes from cows. And we will talk about the farmer and the way the milk ends up in the shop. We will not say, no, milk is not made in a factory. So something strange happened here. And of course, these children noticed that. So one boy said, I asked my parents loads of questions, but they acted really weird. So, I have a friend at school, and she's made in the same way. When I have a question, I just go and ask her. Clever guy. Problem solved. But his parents did not know this, and it certainly was not what they had in mind, nor what the counselor had in mind, when they were saying how important it is to be an open communication family. And that's the strange thing about advice. When we offer people pills, we gather evidence first. We do tests, we do follow-up studies. We want to know, and rightly so, what this pill is doing and how it affects people's lives. And advice? It is not enough for advice or for professionals to give advice that is theoretically sound or well meant. It should be advice where there is evidence for, evidence that it actually improves patients' lives. So the philosopher in me would now want to offer you a paradox. I advise you to stop following advice. But yes. I will not end here with what went wrong. I would not be doing justice to the warmth we found in those families. Remember the books and the trip to the farmer? When parents do things that work for them, they do brilliant things. What I want you to remember, as members of families, in no matter what form or shape, is that what families need are warm relationships. And we do not need to be professionals to create those. Most of us do just fine. Although it may be hard work, and from time to time we can do with some advice. In that case, bear in mind 3 things. Work with advice that works for your family. Remember, you're the expert because you live your family life. And finally, believe in your abilities and your creativity because you can do it yourself. Thank you.
When I was 6-year-old, I received my gifts. My first grade teacher had this brilliant idea. She wanted us to experience receiving gifts, but also learning the virtue of complimenting each other. So she had all of us come to the front of the classroom, and she bought all of us gifts and stacked them in the corner. And she said, why don't we just stand here and compliment each other? If you hear your name called, go and pick up your gifts and sit down. What a wonderful idea, right? What could go wrong? Well, there were 40 of us to start with, and every time when I hear someone's name called, I would give out the heartiest cheer. And then there were 20 people left, and 10 people left, and 5 left, and 3 left. I was one of them. And the compliments stopped. Well, at that moment, I was crying, and the teacher was freaking out. And she was like, hey, would anyone say anything nice about these people? No one? Okay, why don't you go get your gift and sit down, so behave next year, someone might say something nice about you. Well, as I'm describing this to you, you probably know I remember this really well. But I don't know who felt worse that day. Was that me or the teacher? She must realize that she turned a team building event into a public roast for 3 6-year-olds. And without the humor, when you see people get roasted on TV, it was funny. There was nothing funny about that day. So that was one version of me, and I would die to avoid being in that situation again, to get rejected in public again. That's one version. Then fast forward 8 years, Bill Gates came to my hometown, Beijing, China, to speak, and I saw his message. I fell in love with that guy. I thought, wow, I know what I want to do now. That night, I wrote a letter to my family telling them by age 25, I will build the biggest company in the world, and that company will buy Microsoft. I totally embraced this idea of conquering the world, domination, right? And I didn't make this up. I did write that letter. And here it is. You don't have to read this through. And this is also bad handwriting, but I did highlight some keywords. You get the idea. So that was another version of me, wanting to conquer the world. Well, then 2 years later, I was presented with the opportunity to come to the United States. I jumped on it, and because that was where Bill Gates lived, right? So I thought that was the start of my entrepreneurial journey. Then fast forward another 14 years, I was 30. Nope, I didn't build that company. I didn't even start. I was actually a marketing manager for a Fortune 500 company, and I felt I was stuck. I was stagnant. Why is that? Where is that 14-year-old who wrote that letter? It's not because he didn't try. It's because every time I had a new idea, every time I wanted to try something new, even at work, I wanted to make a proposal, I wanted to speak up in front of people in a group, I felt there was this constant battle between the 14-year-old and the 6-year-old. One wanted to conquer the world, make a difference. Another was afraid of rejection. And every time, that 6-year-old won. And this fear even persisted after I started my own company. I mean, I started my own company when I was 30. If you want to be Bill Gates, you got to start sooner or later, right? When I was an entrepreneur, I was presented with an investment opportunity. And then I was turned down. And that rejection hurt me.
Flick to link to flick. My photo taste is the Pinterest because they are the best